It's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and welcome to the final mask of my mini mask series that I did for Halloween. What I'm going to start off with today is I'm going to start off with my flooding and piping icing. If you don't know what that is, you can go ahead and click that link in the right-hand corner. My sugar cookie recipe as well as my royal icing recipe is down in the description box below. It will always be there for all of my future sugar cookie tutorials. Today I am using a tipless bag, and basically what that is it's a really strong piping bag that holds its shape. If you just use a regular piping bag for this without a tip, then chances are you're going to get some curling or ribboning happening. I freehand cut this mask as well as all of the other type of cookie masks that I made throughout this week, and all I really did was I cut it with an X-Acto knife, and then I used a little petal cutter to create those little details. But really you could get super creative and use whatever cutters that you would like to create some interesting shapes. Now, as you probably saw in the thumbnail, we had some freestanding type of royal icing decorations. When doing this, you want to make sure to use fairly thick piping icing. I always increase the amount of meringue powder as well as icing sugar, but make sure you add that meringue powder, because if you don't do that, then your frosting can turn really hard and chunky and it won't be smooth enough to pipe. I tried as best as I could to follow the same shape as the bottom of the mask because this portion is going to go on the bottom. Despite the fact that the shape of the actual mask is quite symmetrical, I wanted to make the actual design very asymmetrical, so that's why I'm only doing this hanging down portion on one side of the mask. The key to piping this smoothly and correctly is making sure that you have even pressure as you're squeezing. You'll notice sometimes that I do have a little break in my icing, but that just means that I didn't have the same pressure the whole time, so I just need to go back and fix it by going over it again. You'll also want to make sure that you do this on parchment paper. If you do it on something that is not non-stick, then your design will never come off of it. So you do want to make sure that you use parchment paper, and I do find parchment paper works better than non-stick mats. Now I'm creating all of these little spider legs, and the reason that I'm doing them here instead of just directly on the cookie is because I do want them sticking out and puffing out a little bit more. I made sure the other parts of my cookie dried first before filling in this portion, just because I didn't want it to all meld together. Now it's time for the fun part, adding in all of those little web details and designs. I'm really using a lot of straight lines throughout this whole decorating process, and then I'm going to be adding some curved lines. Now, if you've never been able to pipe straight lines successfully, it is actually one of the easier things to do, but it might just seem a little bit intimidating. What you have to do is you need to squeeze your piping bag, and we talked about squeezing it in a consistent manner so that you always have even pressure. And then what you do is you drop your line down. Don't try to drag it through like you would a pen. Really try to drop those lines down. This is the same thing that you would do for a curved line as well, though it is a little bit trickier. You'll notice though that my piping bag actually is very high up in comparison to the cookie, so I do lift it quite a bit and then I drop it down. I wanted this to look really ornate, mixed in with all those spider webs, so I'm adding a little bit of a lace detail here, and then I'm going to do some cross hatching as well. Now I'm adding in some swirls and scrolls. I remember when I first started cookie decorating, this was the one technique that I always wanted to learn how to do because it just looked so beautiful to me, and it was really in to put these types of swirls all over everywhere. I don't see it as much popping up, but I think it looks really cool and kind of vintage looking, so it gives this mask a creepy vibe. Now, unlike for when I dropped the lines down for those long lines and those big curved lines, I am actually dragging my piping bag through. And this is one of the really nice things about using a tipless piping bag. I can drag it through without worrying about the tip clogging, because if it does clog, I can just pull it out with a little bit of tissue paper. Adding some sort of dot always makes it look really, really well put together. So I love adding cascading dots and dots that get smaller and dots that get larger. And finishing up these details on the top here. Now this is where I'm going to place my spider, so I'm going to create another web here. Start placing those legs on. Now I did lay the legs flatter down. I could have propped them up a little bit more so that it actually looked like it was crawling all over, but I decided to do it this way. You know, sometimes you have a plan and then stylistically you just change it. I love these little dragées and I put them all over. I've heard it called a lot of different things actually. Sometimes I hear people calling it draggies. Do you call it a draggie or a dragée? Because I think it is a derivative of a French word, but I'm not quite sure. Same thing with nonpareil. Someone called it a non-peril the other day. Tell me, comment down below. What do you call your different types of sprinkles? So when you're taking that piece off, you'll notice that I actually went underneath the parchment to pop it off instead of trying to peel it off to avoid breakage. And then I just apply a little bit of royal icing and stick it on. Now make sure that you don't stick it too close to the edge or it will break. You know me, I have to make it just that little bit extra, so I'm putting on these really cool pearls. I think this mask would look so cool at a Halloween party if you had a bunch of different ones laying there, but this is a great standout piece as well. Let's get into that pricing. There is a lot of detail going on with this, so if this were a custom order, it would be a lot pricier just because we do also have that hanging over royal icing as well. If this were a custom order, it would still be expensive, but obviously cheaper. And just a reminder that all of my pricing estimates are done in Canadian dollars and are very much based on where I live and all of that kind of stuff. If you want to see how I price my cookies, I suggest you go ahead and check out that link in the right-hand corner. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading daily, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys.